Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Humza Yousaf just doesn't get it, does he? He's saying that there were no red flags in having Peter Murrell and Nicola Sturgeon as the chief executive and leader of the party. Those closeted little meetings, those words in one's shell-like, the fact that deals could be done and nobody would be the wiser. Things could be covered, hidden, and be very, very sneakily, sort of salted away. All sorts of shenanigans, in fact, and indeed that's what we're seeing. And on top of that, and somehow worse, he says that all these allegations that are coming out since Nicola resigned are just tarnishing her reputation. He's saying it's the accusations doing that, rather than her actions, rather than the things that between them they've done. I think he fails to understand what reputation is. But thankfully hers is now completely destroyed. No one sees Nicola Sturgeon as anything other than a complete, horrible, nasty, obnoxious, psychopathic, sociopathic, narcissistic, power-mad megalomaniac whose lust for independence overrode sense, ability, or empathy. She is barely functioning as a human being and is certainly not someone fit for power. Typical politician, really. Let's have a look. So SNP saw no red flags in Peter Murrell and Nicola Sturgeon's relationship at the top of the party as they were winning elections. Oh yes, while they're winning, we'll overlook everything. The seediness, the sleaze, the corruption, the criminality, the purloinment of money perhaps, the shadiness with the books, the fact that the books would not be opened up to the treasurer of the party simply because they hadn't yet been fixed and adjusted. Nobody could cook them in time. All sorts of shenanigans going on, sleeky, sneaky and snide. But there were no red flags. Humza Yousaf also claimed that rivals were unfairly tarnishing the reputation of the former First Minister, despite her being involved in a number of scandals since leaving office. And by her own mouth, at the evidence giving in the COVID inquiry, she's tarnishing her own reputation. She admitted she didn't take advice from an epidemiologist, but preferred to listen to a dentist. She said and admitted, having been presented with the evidence, that yes, it was politicised. She lied. She denied making decisions on WhatsApp until she was presented with those decisions as described by Liz Lloyd. So who is tarnishing her reputation? She is. Because as I've always maintained and you've always agreed, the truth is what will utterly destroy the SNP, because they do not deal in truth. They deal in lies. They deal in misconceptions. They deal with otherness, the pointing, the blaming. It is out of the absolute standard rule book for dictators everywhere. Whataboutery, straw man argument. Let's lie and then push the lie and repeat the lie, and so on. If you keep repeating it, eventually people believe it. And that is the SNP way. They lie and they lie and they lie, and they think people are stupid. But we are not stupid. Yousaf claimed that no one in the SNP questioned the relationship between Peter Murrell and Nicola Sturgeon at the top of the party, as there were no red flags. That goes to show that they're incredibly blind, or that they were deliberately ignoring them. He hinted this could have been because of the success the party had had in elections. The First Minister also claimed that people were trying to tarnish the reputation of his predecessor, as she came under deep scrutiny for her record and also for deleting her COVID WhatsApps. Oh yes, how dare people scrutinise the very things that she's actually done? How dare people highlight all the awfulness that she's done? We should ignore all the awfulness and only look at all the good things. I can't think of a single good thing, but that's what we must be told to look at. It's communist, it's Soviet-era Russia, isn't it? Ignore the faults. There was no plane crash. All the people decided to leave home and never return. It's that kind of thing, isn't it? Yousaf's time at Butte House has also faced disruption as the police probe into the nationalists kicked into higher gear, which police probe. There are now so many. This was just weeks after he officially took office when the Murrell Sturgeon marital home was raided and both were later questioned under caution by detectives. Operation Branchform is looking at alleged fraud and misuse, blah, 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 we know. The financial transparency of the SNP during the years of having a married couple as chief executive and leader have been scrutinised, with Mr Yousaf previously admitted that this may not have been the right idea. Oh, now he's saying it, but he's saying there were no red flags at the time. Dearie me, one of those statements has to be a lie, or both of them, but certainly both cannot be true. Anyway, now he's doubled down on that in an appearance on Alistair Campbell and Rory Stewart's podcast, Leading. What would he know about leading? He's not a leader. He's a seat warmer. Anyway, when he was asked if he was rising through the party, if he was ever worried that it seemed a bit odd that your leader and chief executive of the party were a married couple, and that was a recipe waiting to go wrong, he said, in hindsight, you could absolutely reflect on that. I think nobody really questioned it because we didn't see any red flags. And I've always maintained that guy's got no political nous and no ability to foresee the consequences. And this is an example of how. There's nothing that seemed to cause us any issues, he said. Concerns that were raised at the time, he said, obviously I can't comment on a live police investigation. Yes, you can. You choose not to. It's not the same thing. And that will go, the way it's going to go and conclude the way it's going to conclude. He said, but ultimately the party is doing well and it was winning under Peter and Nicola. Not now, though. Not winning under you, are they? That's an admission of failure, isn't it? Anyway, during the SNP leadership election, Mr Yousaf said he wanted to keep Murrell as chief executive and labelled him as an election winner. And then the truth comes out. And then all the shadiness with the money. And all the stolen money. And all the mysterious purchases. Oh, it's very, very dodgy looking, isn't it? The First Minister was then gushing in his praise for Miss Sturgeon, because of course he is. And he accused critics of unfairly trying to tarnish her reputation. It's not unfair. How is it possibly unfair to tell the truth? What's unfair is hiding the truth from the people of Scotland and denying the existence of all these things that happened. Do not lionise this woman. Do not make this woman out to be, glorious, the Messiah of Scotland, Nicola, Queen of Scots, when all she was in fact a barely human, obnoxious, hate-filled, divisive piece of human filth who would let children die to push a political end. And when I say would let children die, I obviously mean did. So let's not talk about her reputation. Her reputation is in tatters, but she's done this to herself. He said, when I think about COVID in particular, I've worked closely with Nicola for the years of the pandemic, and I can tell you, nobody in the Scottish Government is saying we got everything right from the outside. In fact, very few are saying you got anything right. He said, we made mistakes during that really difficult period. Everything you did was a mistake. Well, your big mistake, though, was not listening to actual experts and taking advice from gynecologists and dentists, people who know precisely nothing about COVID. He says, I'll tell you without any doubt, he said, that Nicola and the rest of the government, particularly her, Nicola, only ever put the interests of the people that she was serving first to protect them from harm. And we know that was a lie. We've seen the WhatsApps. We've seen the politicisation. We've seen the admission that they were looking for a rammy. We've seen the things where they were admitting they need to do things differently just to do things differently. It was not the interest of the people. It was the interest of the SNP, and it was the damn interest of Nicola Sturgeon. So, Humza Yousaf, shut your big, fat, lying mouth and resign out of sheer betterment for the lives of the people of Scotland and stop destroying everything. I'm coming up. He says he saw no red flags. Everyone else did. Everyone else thought it was very, very bad to concentrate power into such a tiny space. The concentration of power always leads to dictatorship, always leads to the loss of rights, the loss of freedoms. It's where decisions are made based on one person's whims and desires rather than any thought out arguments made on behalf of the people. The larger the camera, as they say, the wider the view. And that that actually works in terms of the camera being the room, the Parliament. But with the SNP, there was no discussions. There was the decisions, and then everyone else had to rubber stamp what Nicola Sturgeon said, and that was it. She was de Führer, and that's basically what her plans were, wasn't it? An independent Scotland with, you know, the Führer Nick at the head. She would have probably declared herself queen. Wouldn't have put that past her. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. Till next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you later.